Hey, Astra Kids, and welcome back. And in today's video, we'll be talking about Saturn in the sign of Virgo. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. So before we start, I just want to give a few quick disclaimers. Firstly, you want to see what are the aspects and conjunctions of Saturn. This becomes extremely important in the chart. So you want to see, are there any planets that are interfering with Saturn? This will definitely have a change in the interpretation of what Saturn is doing in your chart. You also want to see what house is Saturn placed in and what houses does Saturn have rulership over. So where is Capricorn and where is Aquarius in your chart? This becomes extremely important to see. And I've done a video already on Saturn through the 12 houses. So if you have not seen that, make sure to check that out. I will leave a link for that above and down below in the description. You also want to consider the activation of Saturn in your chart. So there are certain phases of our life where Saturn becomes more active, and so therefore the results of Saturn will become very prominent in your life. And the most important time would be during a Saturn Dasha period. So if you have not seen my video on the Saturn Mahadasha Bhuktis, again, I will leave a link for that above and down below in the description. You also want to see what are the transits to Saturn. So are there planets transiting over Saturn that are also going to activate certain things in your chart as well? Along with this, you want to see when you are going through a Sati period. This is when transit Saturn will be 12th, 1st, or 2nd from your natal moon. This is a very important time where Saturn will have an influence over your life as well. Along with this, there are certain time periods where Saturn becomes more mature in our lives and starts to show us the lessons and how we can work towards those karmas of Saturn. So one of the most significant times is during a Saturn return around the age of 29, where Saturn returns back to the position where it was when you were born. And this will show you those karmic lessons very clearly in your life. The other important moment is when Saturn matures at 36. This is where the results of Saturn will start to get better. So from 36 up into the 40s and onwards sometimes is where we will really see those results of Saturn start to alleviate in the chart. This is where we become better at being able to handle and deal with the responsibilities that Saturn puts on our shoulders. It's also important to see if there are any additional karmas that are attached to your natal Saturn. So you want to see, is Saturn retrograde? If that's the case, then there will definitely be some karmas related to servants, related to people who work for you, people who are providing a service for you, anyone in your life that you come across who is in a lower position, in a poverty position, or providing you with a service, you will see some karmas there. Sometimes also karmas with older people as well, as Saturn represents longevity. But you also want to see what houses does Saturn rule in your chart, because it will also represent whoever is seen through those houses. So again, you want to see where is Capricorn and where is Aquarius. Along with this, you want to see, is Saturn in a combustion? If that is the case, then that means that Saturn is trying to burn up karmas in your chart. So this can also show some heavy karmas specifically experienced through that Dasha period of Saturn. You also want to see the Charakaras in your chart to see what does Saturn represent in the Gemini system. This becomes important to see as well. Along with this, you want to see, is Saturn in a Papkartari yoga? This will definitely show the effects of Saturn in your chart as well. So you want to see, is Saturn being surrounded by negative planets on either side? Another concept that is important to see are the aspects of Saturn. So wherever Saturn is placed in your chart, it will give a 3rd, 7th, and 10th aspect from itself. This is very important to see. The 3rd aspect is always going to be a challenge aspect, where it shows where the most karmic obstacles and difficulties are, where you have to apply the most effort in your life. The 7th aspect always shows a relationship that is seen there. So there's a mirror effect whenever a planet is sitting opposite to another house. So the planet desires the things that are in that opposite house. Also, the last aspect, the 10th aspect of Saturn, will show the results. It will show where you need to put the actual actions in your life. So that will definitely show the final result of Saturn in your chart. And of course, again, I've spoken about the aspects in my video on Saturn through the 12 houses. So make sure to check out that series so that you understand what those aspects are doing in your natal chart. Another concept that's important to see is where is Saturn in relationship to its home sign? And specifically, you really want to see where is it in relationship to its Mutrikon sign, its office sign of Aquarius. This becomes extremely important to see. But also, you can even look at it from the position of Capricorn as well. Now, the other important thing to see is how do you interpret Saturn in your natal chart? So many of you are probably familiar with your natal chart, your D1 Rashi chart. That's very important to see Saturn from. But also you want to see it from the D9 Navamsa chart as well, because that is where the planets will mature and really give their ripened fruits in our lives. So it's important to see how does Saturn mature in that D9 chart. If Saturn is getting better in the D9 chart and it was in a difficult position in the D1, that is a positive sign that Saturn will mature very well in your life. So definitely as you get older with that Saturn, you will start to see the change in your karmas. If Saturn is in a more difficult position in the D9 chart, then that definitely shows that there's a need for a remedial measure. So make sure that you reach out to an astrologer like myself if you want to figure out how to strengthen that position of Saturn. And of course, we'll talk about remedies as well before we get into what Saturn's really going to do in the sign of Virgo. Now, also, you want to see where is Saturn placed in the D10, because Saturn is Karaka for the D10 because it is all about career. So definitely Saturn represents hard work, putting in the effort. So it is one of the signifactors of our work life as well. So you want to really see what is Saturn doing in that D10 chart to understand how it applies to your career. You also want to see Saturn in the D30 as well. That is going to give you some great information also. Along with this, you really want to see Saturn in the D60 because that is the final result. That is what is going to have the final say about the strength and dignity of Saturn, how it will really perform for you in your life. The D60 also is connected to past, present, and future life karmas as well. So it really is going to give you an understanding of what those karmas are that are connected to Saturn in your chart. Now, what are some great remedial measures for Saturn? Well, for Saturn, it is all about responsibility. It's all about commitment. Saturn ties us to our responsibilities because Saturn has Digbala in the 7th house of relationships. So it's all about what we're binded to, the contracts, the dealing, the marriage, the commitment. So Saturn expects us to be dutiful, to be responsible, to make sacrifices and commitment. So sacrifice is definitely one of the biggest qualities that will help to strengthen Saturn in your chart. If you can be humble and be of service to others, to be willing to give up something, then this will definitely help you. Because Saturn, as we know, is the enemy of the sun. So it also is all about putting down the ego. So having humility will also help to strengthen Saturn. Make sure that all of your actions are ethical and coming from a humble space. This is a very simple remedy that you can put into practice. Another great remedy for Saturn is to feed crows because Saturn is associated with crows and cemeteries. So this can definitely help to strengthen Saturn in your chart as well. So let's talk about Saturn in the sign of Virgo. Now, in order to do this, we really want to understand what does Saturn represent and what does Virgo represent and how do they interact with one another when they come together. And Saturn and Virgo is a very fortunate position in some ways because Saturn is great friends with Mercury, which is the exaltation and office planet of Virgo. So this is going to be a very strong position of Saturn with Saturn in the sign of Virgo. So Saturn represents fears, obstacles, delays. It is the planet of death, of loss, of detachment, of spirituality. Saturn teaches us the hardest lessons in life. It is where we face many obstacles, fears, insecurities, things that delay and frustrate us in our lives. Saturn oftentimes is the hardest in our younger years. As I explained earlier in the video, Saturn tends to mature around 36. And so we start to see that some of those karmas loosen up a little bit as we get past the age of 36 into our 40s and onwards. So Saturn really is the hardest when we are younger. That is where we experience a lot of those big delays and obstacles in our lives. Saturn also, though, is about duty, commitment, responsibility. It's about getting on with your work in life. It is putting forth the effort. Saturn does not give anything for free. It is all about, are you being able to put in the effort and work that is needed? Are you putting in the time and energy to make things happen? And more than that, it is about the perseverance, continuing on, because we know that Saturn is debilitated in areas where there is a lack of patience. So having that patience, having that perseverance to keep going is definitely associated with Saturn. Saturn is the slowest moving planet. It is represented by an old man who has a limp. We see that in the nakshatra of Shravana, which falls in the middle part of Capricorn, that there is this association with limping that is connected to Saturn. So it moves very slowly, but as the old man, it carries a lot of wisdom. So Saturn teaches us wisdom through our experiences. It teaches us the reality of this life by shattering the illusions of this world. Saturn shows organizational skills. It shows the ability to be disciplined, to create structure and a solid foundation. And in our natal chart, Saturn generally is going to create obstacles in the house that it's in, because Saturn is also a rebel. Don't forget that Saturn is the enemy of the sun. So it definitely can create a sense of detachment, which is inclining us towards our spiritual journey as well. Now, Virgo is the original sixth sign of the zodiac. And we know that the sixth house is all about the things that we really don't want to do. Our work life, our chores, our routine, facing enemies, competition, litigation, dealing with the issues of society, helping those in need, dealing with problems, coming up with solutions, dealing with health, and so on. So Virgo is all about dealing with the problems of society. It's about helping people. It is about taking on responsibilities. And this is a big reason why Saturn feels very comfortable being in the sign of Virgo. Virgo is a very detailed sign because it is, again, the exaltation of Mercury. It's also the office sign of Mercury. So Mercury is very powerful here in the sign of Virgo, showing the ability to calculate and to deal with small details. Virgo is also represented by a virgin, so it is about purity. It's about bringing purity into situations, being diplomatic, creating a sense of order, of balance, of restoring things the way that they're supposed to be. Again, bringing this sense of help and order, really trying to make a difference within the world in those lives of people who need help. Virgo, also being an earth sign, is very materialistic. It's about creating a sense of security and structure. Again, bringing forth that sense of purity and order into our lives. And so this is a very powerful sign that is definitely going to help with being able to sort out details, being able to be critical, being able to really keep things structured and organized. Virgo is all about healing as well, especially in the nakshatra of Hasta, which we will get into later in this video. So what happens then when Saturn comes into the sign of Virgo? Well, this is definitely going to help with taking care of some major tasks and responsibilities. Saturn is all about being disciplined, all about being organized, and Virgo gives the critical ability to do this in a very systematic and organized way. It definitely is going to make you someone who is very focused on the flaws, on the nitty-gritty details. This is going to be seen with Saturn in Virgo. Sometimes it can also give some fears as well, because Virgo is a sign that tends to be a worrier. Again, it's always focused towards details. And Saturn shows our fears, our insecurities, our doubts. So this can increase a pessimistic outlook, increasing the fears, increasing some of the doubts and worries within the mind as well. But again, Saturn doesn't really represent the mind, the moon does. So you want to see what is the moon like in the chart as well. Sometimes it can also show chronic illnesses because Virgo, again, is about dealing with health and diseases. And Saturn is about things that last, things that take time. So it can show some issues with illnesses as well. But also, again, it can show a healing ability, actually working with those who need help as well. And definitely because Saturn is the planet of service, about giving help to humanity through its office sign of Aquarius. And Virgo is also about healing and coming up with solutions to problems. This can definitely show a very generous nature of wanting to help people, of wanting to make a difference to society, to make things better in the world. Along with this, it can give a workaholic attitude because, again, Virgo is all about dealing with the responsibilities, dealing with the practical side of life. And Saturn is about work. So definitely this can make a person a huge workaholic where there's a lot of energy and effort that is put into your work life. It can make you a very technical person as well, with Saturn being about work and Virgo being about the nitty-gritty details. It can make you very technical, very critical, very skillful in your work as well. Sometimes it can show issues related to the digestive system because both Saturn and Virgo are associated with the digestive system. So it can show some illnesses that are related to indigestion or problems with the intestines. There can be definitely a need to be careful about the types of foods that you are taking into your body as well. Sometimes it can show that you're skilled in areas of IT, engineering. Again, anything technical can be seen with this sign of Virgo, even in the creative arts, but doing art in a very technical way. Sometimes it can also show really wanting to help and make a difference with animals, animal welfare, because Virgo once again rules that sixth house, which is the original house of pets and small animals. So really overall with this position, it is about wanting to make a difference, wanting to serve, wanting to heal, wanting to help, wanting to get on with the job, to really deal with the flaws and details. And Saturn gives the patience, gives the discipline to make this happen. So let's go ahead and talk about the different nakshatras that fall in the sign of Virgo then. What happens when Saturn comes into Uttara Phalguni? Well, Uttara Phalguni is all about making deals and contracts, negotiations. It is about this sense of camaraderie. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. So this is definitely the nakshatra that is focused towards business dealings, really making that exchange, coming up with things that work. It's about the karmic contracts and relationships that help us to fulfill our soul's purpose in life. So very business minded when we come into Uttara Phalguni. But what happens then when Saturn comes into Uttara Phalguni? What's definitely going to make you very nitpicky and detailed when it comes to contracts and business dealings. You are looking at the fine print. You're making sure that everything is written out correctly. This makes you very systematic in your approach towards business. And also because Saturn is about service, you could do some type of business that is related to serving, to helping people, to trying to make a difference. Definitely with Saturn and Uttara Phalguni, you want to make sure that everything is fair, that negotiations, deals, business contracts are done correctly, that each party is getting something out of the situation. So you're very careful to make sure that you are fair in your approach and that the other person or the other party is also being fair as well. One of the things that Saturn in a Terra Falguni can also do, because this is a sun-ruled nakshatra, is that it can diminish the sense of ego a little bit. So with Saturn in a Terra Falguni, it can definitely make you more inclined towards wanting to help people. So you feel like you will get your fair share out of the situation when you help other people. So not so much concerned about what can I get out of this situation immediately, but how can you help other people? How can you contribute to the situation? Because you know that you will get something out of it if you are putting in the effort, the work, the service, the commitment. It really becomes about commitment. And of course, you want to see, again, what houses does Saturn have rulership over? Because definitely there will be themes centered around commitment in those houses. But definitely with this position, this is going to make you extremely detail-oriented, nitpicky, all about the fine print, all about making sure that everything is sorted and arranged correctly. So what happens then when Saturn comes into the nakshatra of Hasta? Hasta is all about the hands. So definitely it's associated with healing, as I mentioned earlier, but really it's associated with any skill that involves the use of the hands. And so with Saturn here, this can show skills in the technical field, in engineering, and healing arts, anything at all that has to do with the use of the hands. You are serving people, you are making commitment, you're putting in the time and effort with the use of the hands. So it can give you really good mechanical skill, technical skill, can make you very detail oriented and critical in your work in terms of how you use your hands to make things happen. Definitely, it can make you a great writer as well. We know that Virgo is ruled over by Mercury, which is all about communication. And now we have Hasta, which is using the hands. So this would make you an excellent writer. But with Saturn being about things that last, that take time, it can make you a great novelist, doing writing that involves a long amount of time and a great amount of effort can be seen with this position. Because Hasta is also about attracting things as well, it has the power of manifestation to manifest your desires into your hands. It can show that because Saturn is karmic, that when you are doing things the right way, the ethical way, the humble way, when you're putting in the hard work, the perseverance, the discipline, that you will be able to attract the things that you want into your life. But if you're taking the wrong path, then this will definitely bring some negative karma to you as well. So be very careful about your actions with this Saturn and Hasta. Everything that you do will bring something back to you. You are manifesting karmas into your life. If you have people who work for you, servants, people who are under you with this position, then definitely they could also have some issue with their hands, or they're very detailed when they work with their hands. With this position, this could be seen as well. And of course, again, the houses that Saturn rules, there can be something going on there where those people who are seen in those houses can also have some themes related to their hands also. So this can also be something to see in the chart as well. Sometimes because Hasta is also ruled over by the moon and it's all about getting your desires manifested and grasping onto things with the hands, the fist, there can also be a clingy nature with this Saturn and Hasta as well. Sometimes you could get a little too attached. Specifically for Saturn, it represents hard work. So maybe something having to do with your work life, you could get attached in that area also. So definitely it could make you a workaholic, or it could make you very much attached to your work. So if you're an artist with this position, you may be very attached to that piece of art that you are working towards. It could also show that maybe there is something sporadic about your work life as well, because Hasta is ruled over by the moon, which is very changeable. It goes through waxing and waning. So maybe you work in spurts of energy, or you need a sense of change and variety in your work life. What happens then when Saturn comes into the Chitra nakshatra? Chitra is all about architecture. It's all about creating beautiful works of art, brilliant works of art. It is ruled over by Twastar, which is the celestial architect, the one who created the universe. So definitely there is a creative touch to Chitra, but it is creation in more of a technical way of putting in the hard work of creating something from nothing is really seen from the Chitra Nakshatra. It is symbolized by bright shining jewel or pearls. So it definitely shows the ability to shine, to be seen and noticed for that brilliant work of art as well. So then when Saturn comes into the Chitra Nakshatra, it definitely shows that you put a lot of time and effort into whatever your craft, whatever your work is. This is an excellent position for a craftsman, for an artist, for a sculptor, for anyone who is trying to create a brilliant work of art. With this position, this can definitely give you the ability to really put in the time, effort, patience, and discipline to create this brilliant work of art. It can give you really great organizational skills because Chitra definitely shows leadership abilities as well. So really this ability to arrange things in a certain way, to create a system, to create a sense of structure in order to make that work of art come true. And definitely because it is about shining, being seen and noticed for your work. And Saturn is a karmic planet. Again, you want to be careful about your ethics in your work as well, making sure that you're putting in the time, the effort. This is what will make you shine, what will bring that success in your life. So overall, Saturn in Virgo is going to give positive results in the chart. Of course, again, as I mentioned in the disclaimers, you want to see, are there any planets conjunct or aspecting what else is really going on in the chart? This all becomes important to see. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you like this, make sure to leave a like, a comment to let me know what you thought about the video. If you think this will be helpful for someone else, make sure to share this out as well. If you're looking for a consultation with me to understand more about your personal chart, make sure to sign up at my website. I have all of my services listed on the site, astrochartswithdaquan.com. If you're also looking for a free natal chart, which will just show you the general placements, then definitely check out my calculator on the site as well. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.